What's up? This is BoxingWave. I'm going to speak on the Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Marquez saga, all 4 fights, okay? Now, if you haven't been subscribed to the channel, basically every once in a while I do a retro fight, a throwback fight, and I give you an analysis on the whole fight round per round, alright? I'm not going to do that this video. Since I'm talking about 4 fights, I wanted to consolidate all 4 fights in one video. I'm not going to have time to break down each fight round per round. I'm just going to give you my thoughts on who I thought won the fights and give you my final scores on the fights, okay? Now, if you want to go back and watch the fights and look them up, I know they are HBO.com. You can actually watch all 4 fights on there. And I don't even think you need HBO Go. I think you just go HBO.com and all of the fights are there, right? I'll give my scorecard, my full scorecard. I'll leave that in the description so you can see which rounds I picked for who. I know the second and third fight, I believe I had like a couple of rounds in there that were, I gave a draw, so they were 10-10 rounds. Alright, so let me speak on the fights, alright? The first fight, oh, just to mention too, part of the reason why I wanted to do this video now, a lot of people requested it, but part of the reason why I wanted to do it now was because May 8th just reached the 10th year anniversary of their first fight. Alright, so I'm a little bit behind. I wanted to do this video already, but I haven't really had time. But I had everything prepared, just haven't gotten around to it. So anyway, I'm gonna do the. I'm just gonna break it down now. Now the first fight was back in 2004. These guys were fighting at 126. This fight was the most explosive fight out of all 4 fights, okay? These guys were 10 years younger. It was their first time fighting. You know, and these guys didn't know each other's style yet at the time. So Pacquiao starts off the fight knocking Marquez down 3 times. Alright, he knocked him down 3 times. The fight could have easily been stopped, okay? It could have easily been stopped. If this fight was stopped because of the first round, we would have never got this trilogy. I don't think Marquez might have been the legend that a lot of people see him as today. You know, we might not have ever gotten a rematch between these two, okay? Pacquiao drops him 3 times in the first round, all right? Controversy with this fight is that one of the judges scored it a 10-7 round when he was supposed to score it a 10-6 round, okay? 10-6. Pacquiao won the round, so he automatically gets it 10-9. But because there was 3 knockdowns, you take away another additional point for each knockdown. So it was a 10-6 round, and one of the judges screwed that up. The outcome of the fight was a draw. I feel like after the first fight, the first round, Marquez won more rounds. I think Marquez won more rounds than Pacquiao in each fight, okay? A lot of people think Marquez won all 4 fights. But in this fight, I think Marquez definitely came back, won more rounds, but I still didn't think it was enough for him to win the fight, okay? The judges scored it a draw. I scored it 113 to 112 for Pacquiao, okay? That's how I scored the first fight. Very explosive fight, back and forth. A lot of people think Marquez won all of the rounds after that. You know, I think Pacquiao still won a good amount of rounds for him to get the win for this fight, okay? Now, the second fight was 4 years later in 2008. These guys were fighting at 130. Alright, I think this fight, the pacing was a lot more different. Pacquiao was a lot more cautious and more conservative in this fight this time around, alright? There was a knockdown again. Pacquiao did drop Marquez in the 3rd round once, okay? But I still think Marquez won more rounds than Pacquiao. You know, it can go either way. I mean, they're all close rounds. A lot of these rounds were real close. The only difference is between this one and the first fight is that Marquez hurt Pacquiao a couple times. He landed big shots against Pacquiao and wasn't enough to drop him. But Pacquiao had the noodle legs. He was dizzy, wobbling around in the ring, unlike in the first fight. And I think Marquez won the fight clearly this time around. You know, I gave it for Marquez 116 to 113 this fight. I think another thing that played a key role is that Pacquiao got headbutt. There was a headbutt in the fight, and Pacquiao was definitely bothered by it. I mean, he was rubbing his eyes, and a lot of those rounds, like a lot of the championship rounds, or maybe like the halfway through, maybe 3/4, into the fight, I feel like Marquez won a lot of those rounds where Pacquiao was affected by that headbutt. So I think that played a key role in the second fight as well. All right, they gave the win to Pacquiao anyway, but I personally think Marquez won 116 to 113. Now the third fight was back in 2011, I believe. I believe it was in 2011. These guys were fighting at welterweight. All right, this is the third time the fight, the third time these guys met in the ring. This fight there was no knockdowns in this fight. You know, I think this fight was even more conservative than the second fight. You know, all four of the fights were wars, but this fight was the most. You know, I think these guys were a lot more conservative in this fight. They landed some hard shots on each other, but it was nothing compared to the first two fights. All right, these guys were a lot older at this time, obviously, and you know, these guys. You know, Pacquiao at this point had knocked a lot of people out in welterweight, and you know, when he fights Marquez, it's a totally different, you know, Pacquiao. You know, he's a lot more careful, he's a lot more tentative when he fights Marquez. I think Marquez won most of the rounds from 3/4 of the match. Okay, I think Marquez, they gave the win to Pacquiao, right? But I think the problem with Marquez in this fight is I think he was closely beating Pacquiao each round, but he thought he had the fight in the bag. And the championship rounds, he did a lot more movement and a lot more fighting, a lot less fighting in the championship rounds. I think Pacquiao might have won 4 of the last 5 rounds, in my opinion, and I know the judges gave it to Pacquiao. I think Marquez should have kept it up from the beginning to the end of the fight. And I think that's part of the reason why Pacquiao got that win in the third fight. Very controversial because a lot of people, a lot of boxing fans truly believe that Marquez won this third fight. Now the fourth fight was just in 2012. Basically this fight was the first knockout. Okay, both fighters got dropped in this fight. I think Pacquiao started off good. And then the third round, Marquez dropped him with a hard right. Okay, hardest punch Marquez has ever landed against Pacquiao. Okay, the fourth round, I think Marquez kept it up. The fifth round was probably the best round, might have been the best round ever in the saga between these two. I mean, these two were going crazy. Pacquiao was destroying Marquez in the fifth round. He actually dropped him and broke his nose. I know he broke his nose in the first round of the first fight, but this probably was the most action-packed round, the most dominant round out of since the first fight, the first round in the first fight. Okay, Pacquiao won, dominated that fifth round, started to dominate the sixth again. You know, at this point you think that Pacquiao was either gonna knock him out or he's gonna win on the scorecards by far this time, and then he gets knocked out. The last like 2 seconds of the round, Marquez lands a straight right that knocks Pacquiao out cold. Great counter punch. And that was the end of the fight. That was in the sixth round, okay? So me personally, overall, how I feel about this whole saga, I think it's top 10 all-time greatest rivalries in boxing, all right? I know a lot of people from this era will probably say it's the best of all time. You know, a lot of younger people will feel that way because this is what they watched growing up. There's been plenty of rivalries over the years in boxing, and I think this is probably top 10. I'm not going to say it's the best, you know, but it's definitely the best in this past decade. All right, I think overall Pacquiao is the better fighter. All right, but when it comes to Marquez, Marquez just has his number. That's how I feel about it. 78 Sports said the same, you know, same thing I was thinking. You know how Shane Mosley and Vernon Forrest, you know, they had those 2 fights and Vernon Forrest beat him both fights. Vernon Forrest beat him in the amateurs. You know, Shane Mosley, I mean, rest in peace, Vernon Forrest. He didn't really finish his career, but Shane Mosley is going to go down as a Hall of Famer, a legend in the sport. He has fought everyone, you know, where a lot of people don't even know who Vernon Forrest is. But Vernon Forrest beat an undefeated Shane Mosley twice, you know. He even dropped him, he hurt him, he dominated Shane Mosley, okay? And sometimes certain fighters just have your number. You know, I think Marquez is the only fighter that has Manny Pacquiao's number. You know, It could be the Pacquiao of 2008. It could be the Pacquiao of you know, today, or Pacquiao of young. Marquez just knows how to fight Manny Pacquiao. Okay, even in the first fight, you know, he turned the fight around. You know, some fighters just know stylistically have the best style for certain fighters. You know, Marquez is gonna go down as a Hall of Famer too, but not on the level as Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao has the most impressive resume out of the two and everything. I mean, he's beaten more fighters than Marquez has, but Marquez is the better between the two of them. You know, when they fight, he's the better fighter, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. You know, a lot of people watch this video, you probably think Pacquiao won all of the fights except the third fight, which is fine. They were all close fights, okay? But I think Marquez is the only fighter that has his number. I think Bradley did well against Pacquiao in both fights, but the problem with Bradley is Tim Bradley is not consistent. You know, Tim Bradley does not stick to the game plan like Marquez does. Marquez fights Pacquiao like with intelligence throughout the whole fight, where Bradley is a little bit too he's all over the place, you know. 1 minute he wants to knock him out, 1 minute he wants to box with him, 1 minute he wants to brawl. Bradley doesn't stick to the, I mean, Bradley has good counterpunching ability. He did beat Juan Manuel Marquez, but when it comes to Marquez and Pacquiao, I think Marquez is just the best at fighting Manny Pacquiao, okay? No matter what year. If they both fought Mayweather in 2009, 2010, I think when Pacquiao was actually beating everyone and knocking people out, I think Marquez would have did better than Floyd Mayweather. If Floyd Mayweather would have beat Pacquiao in 2009, I still think Marquez probably would have did a better performance against Manny Pacquiao, because, you know, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It's just, Marquez just had, we already see what Floyd did to Marquez, but sometimes there's that triangle effect. I'm not saying Pacquiao could beat Floyd, but if Floyd was to lose to anyone, it would have been Pacquiao back in 08, 09, when he moved up to welterweight and was knocking everyone out. You guys want to say that, oh, Pacquiao might have been on steroids. Okay, well, we don't know, all right? That's not a fact. That doesn't, you know, he never got caught with a positive drug test, all right? So I'm not going to get into all of that. But anyway, great trilogy. I mean, great rivalry, you know, one of the best. And I just wanted to speak on it because, you know, a lot of people requested. And that's it. So make sure you look out for more retro fights. I'm gonna start trying to do some more. I know I've been slacking a little bit lately, but I'm gonna try to get back to doing some more of those. And be on the lookout. About to do a couple more videos to upload too, so be on the lookout in the next couple of videos that's coming up. All right. And as far as a fifth fight between them two, I mean, I guess it really doesn't make sense, you know, because Marquez did knock him out, and I do think Marquez won more fights than Pacquiao, 3-1 in my opinion. But I mean, if these guys are just gonna stay within the lines of fighting top rank fighters, I guess I would rather see them fight. I would rather see a fifth fight between Marquez and Pacquiao than a second fight between Marquez and Bradley, or a third fight between Marquez and Pacquiao. All right, so I would like Provodnikov, I'm sorry, to get thrown in the mix somewhere, but overall I would rather see Pacquiao and Marquez fight again over a lot of other fights that Top Rank could put together. Now if these two are gonna venture out and start fighting Golden Boy fighters, then that's even better. All right, but I mean, I don't think the fifth fight is the worst thing in the world, you know, but that's just my thoughts. All right, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna leave my full scorecard in the description of this video, okay? So make sure you look that up and subscribe to the channel. Peace.